to also commend you all on having this meeting. I think it's vitally important that a party continuously renew itself and continuously embrace new technologies, new ideas, and what's happening in 21st century concepts. And I think what you're doing today is a major step in the right direction. And I hope that in the months to come, in the years to come, that we don't forget and that we don't become complacent in what we've done in the past. Because in order for the parties to continue to grow and continue to thrive, you must always be innovating and always be, on the cutting edge. And I think that that is what's key, and I think that that's really what we're trying to accomplish today. There's a revolution going on right now, not just in the United States, but all around the world. The new technologies that have been introduced over the last 10 years have literally brought down governments. They've brought politicians to their knees. They've elected a brand new generation of leaders around the world. Take what's happening in the Middle East right now. There have literally been a series of revolutions, starting in Tunisia, continuing in Egypt, now continuing in Libya, Syria, Bahrain, Yemen. All over the Middle East, there are these revolutions that are occurring. And one of the ways that these revolutions are occurring is that because people are much more interconnected than they've ever been. And that interconnectivity is happening through the internet. So what happened in Egypt was that people were able to organize, to come together and bring down dictatorships using the internet and using these new tools. So that shows the true power of these tools. It also shows that these tools are not just an American phenomena, not just a Western phenomena, but a phenomena that's sweeping the world and empowering people across the world. Now, what the dictators in the Middle East weren't able to do is they weren't able to innovate. They weren't able to adapt. They weren't able to use these technologies to democratize their countries and create greater representation. And in the end, these technologies helped to overthrow their governments. So really, in the end, one of the technologies are often they can be used by the establishment to further the establishment's political gains if the establishment is open to that innovation. But if the establishment is not, if they're closed to that innovation and afraid of that innovation, then the new tools and new technologies are going to be used by the insurgents, the reformers, the people that want change, and they're going to be able to use these new technologies and new strategies to really make a change in the political system. So your choice is to either adapt and use the technologies, or let the technologies use you. So in the United States, I want to talk a little bit about the history of internet campaigning and technology campaigning in the United States. It really began in earnest in the 2004 presidential election, in the Democratic primaries for who was going to take on George W. Bush. And what I call people-powered politics 1.0 was a campaign of a governor of a small state who came out of nowhere and shocked the political establishment. His name was Howard Dean, and his slogan for his campaign was, "You have the power." It was a campaign about empowerment, about giving people tools through this new medium, the internet, to really own the campaign and make the campaign theirs. So what he was able to do is he was able to come from virtually nothing in the polls. He's represented by the purple line there. He was able to come from virtually nothing in the polls. No one had ever heard of him. He had no funding for his campaign, very little support, to becoming the Democratic frontrunner for the nomination in late 2003. He did this by harnessing the power of the internet. Some of the numbers that he was able to produce seem rather quaint to us now, given that Obama mobilized 13 million people online, and the Dean campaign was mobilizing 500, 600,000 people online. But what he was able to do was he was able to begin this whole concept of devolving power from the central controls, a top-down command and control structure, to a bottom-up structure that really used these new tools and used these new technologies to empower people at the grassroots to own the campaign, to create events, to create organizations, to create grassroots campaigning opportunities, to take their online activism and to take it offline and to really come together and form a really powerful political force. It also helped to fund his campaign. He had no funding from the establishment. So what he had to do was go out there and ask his 600,000 supporters to fund his campaign $10, $25 at a time. And he came from the back of the pack in fundraising to the front of the pack in fundraising. Now, the establishment was at the time in 2003 was very suspect of what Howard Dean was doing, and they were very afraid. And so many of them began coalescing around some of his opponents, including the eventual Democratic nominee, John Kerry. And that was what happened in the primaries, was that the establishment ended up winning. And so it was seen at the time as a great victory for the establishment. And Howard Dean's campaign lost in the first primary in the state of Iowa, where he came in a distant third. And let me see if I can. And he gave this infamous speech called the Dean Scream, which really ended up sinking his campaign. And if I can bring it up, I will show you. If not, we will move on. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so we will move on. So, the establishment rejoiced in 2004 because they were able to beat back this insurgent candidate. But the establishment's victory in the 2004 presidential primaries in the United States was short-lived. In 2008, the next great battle of the establishment versus the insurgency took the form of the Obama versus Clinton primary campaign, that epic primary campaign. And what we had was Obama, an insurgent candidate who didn't have the support of the party establishment, versus Hillary Clinton, who was the establishment favorite. Her husband was the president of the United States. She had all of the major party machinery behind her. They also ran two very different campaigns. Hillary believed in what we call a team of rivals campaign. So to put together a group of people that are all very highly intelligent, but that are all suspicious of each other. And this was a model that was perfected by Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War in the United States, where he famously coined he famously developed this idea of bringing people that were rivals together, and that through their conflict, the good ideas, that the best ideas would rise to the top and win out in this competitive marketplace of ideas. Obama took the position in his campaign. They called him No Drama Obama. He believed in this idea of not creating, not having drama, not having, this team of rivals. They're constantly fighting each other. And in the end, the idea of the team of rivals really started to fall apart when Hillary's campaign started losing some of the primaries. You got to hear about all the little sniping and arguments that were happening within the campaign out in the media, and it spilled out into the media, and it pushed Hillary off message and really hurt her chances, especially once things started going south. Of course, it's a classic establishment versus insurgency. But when you have a classic establishment versus insurgency campaign, you also have the following dynamic. The establishment campaigns are very risk averse, that they're not willing to try anything new, they're not willing to rock the boat, because if they try something new, it might not work and it might hurt them in the long run. So establishment candidacies are often very risk averse, whereas insurgent candidacies and candidacies that are behind in the polls that need to make up a lot of ground in a very short amount of time, embrace risk, embrace new technologies, embrace new ideas, and embrace testing these ideas, because what that's able to do is give them that opportunity to break through. They're more willing to embrace risk when they have less to lose. If you have a lot to lose, you're not willing to embrace risk. So the Obama campaign embraced the internet and embraced risk a lot more. Now, there's also when you talk about this model, establishment versus insurgency, you think about top-down versus bottom-up. The Obama campaign, while there were elements of it that were very top-down, embraced the bottom-up. They created a platform through the internet to allow people to create events, to create organizations, to bring people together in their communities to work for Obama, gave them opportunities to interact with the campaign, gave them opportunities to fund the campaign and really own the campaign. Whereas Hillary's campaign was more traditional top-down, that we're afraid that if we engage in this bottom-up, what's going to happen is that we're going to lose control of our message, and that we're going to lose control of the campaign, and that was their great fear of, being taken off message by their supporters, or not really having control over the message. So this video that I want to show you was the first viral video of the presidential primary campaign. It was actually made by a good friend of mine, Phil DeVellis. And what it is it was a parody of Hillary Clinton's campaign announcement, showing how robotic and establishment she was, using a very famous commercial in the United States from Apple Computers in 1984 as the muse for it. So I'm going to show this ad.
1 month ago, I began a conversation with all of you, and so far, we haven't stopped talking, and that's really good. I intend to keep telling you exactly where I stand on all of the issues.
I'm looking at how to help you and other people who are hardworking like you.
And I've really been impressed by how serious people are, because we all need to be part of the discussion if we're all going to be part of the solution.
I don't want people who already agree with me. I want honest, experienced, hardworking, patriotic people who want to be part of a team, the American team. I hope you've learned a little bit more about what I'm believing and trying to do, and really helped this conversation about our country get started.
I hope to keep this conversation going all the way to November 2008.
So basically, this is the idea that represented by the person with the Obama t-shirt, breaking through. That's the idea of the insurgency and people power, really breaking through this top-down, this command and control message model. And I think it really served as the first viral video of the campaign that got several million impressions to show the stark difference between Hillary as the old school establishment model and this new candidate, Barack Obama, who was willing to embrace risk and embrace this bottom-up approach that really empowered people to shatter that old model. So the next thing is just to show that this is where Obama's polling took off. Throughout most of the campaign, it was fairly static. When people weren't, and that's really when people weren't paying attention. The purple line was Hillary, the yellow line is Obama, and the red line was a third candidate in the Democratic primary, John Edwards. And what you see is for most of 2007, the lines were static. That's really when when most of the voters aren't paying too much attention. But then when people started to tune in, Obama had the most growth potential because he was able to use what he was able to build, the infrastructure that he was able to build, the millions of people that he recruited to own the campaign and be part of his team really started to pay dividend, and the money that they were able to raise really started to pay dividends when the primary started. And then once he started winning, that winning begetted more winning and created more winning and gave him the momentum that he needed to defeat the establishment. But without the infrastructure that the online campaigns and the technologies provided in all of 2007, he wouldn't have been able to do this. So in this year, the revolutionaries won. Obama put together a coalition. His coalition included minority voters, especially the African American community in the United States, and it also included the young and the wired. And he was able to create a whole amount of hope and inspiration. And the video that I'm about to show is shows how celebrities even got involved in the United States in the campaign. And they created this iconic video soon after the New Hampshire primary that went viral and shows his connection to the young and the wired within the United States. So this video features, and I'm going to try to let it load a little bit here before I begin. But what this video features is will.i.am, a prominent entertainer, singing, creating a song to Obama's "Yes, We Can" speech. And it went viral with over 10 million impressions throughout the United States, and it was an incredible, incredible success. So let's just give a little bit of a peek here.
was a creed written into the founding documents that declared the destiny of a nation. Yes, we can. It was whispered by slaves and abolitionists as they blazed the trails.
So that just gives you a sense of this video. So, you know, the results of the Obama campaign in total, both the primary and then the general. He gained 5 million supporters in third-party social networks. So that's, you know, Facebook, Twitter, etc. He was on more than 15 online communities that also included smaller social networks like Black Planet, MySpace for African Americans, Eons, and a whole number of other social networks. Now, what's interesting though is that social networks in the 2007-2008, in the years 2007-2008, were very much in their infancy. So 5 million today has 5 million in 2008 has translated into now 15 million fans that Obama has on Facebook today, and you'll see those numbers just grow exponentially in the next campaign for both Obama as well as the Republicans and their candidates and their eventual nominee. On Facebook, you saw a rising of young people. 3.2 million students joined a group called Students for Barack Obama that was created organically by just people out there in the campaign in July of 2007. That was so effective at energizing the college voters that the campaign then followed. It was a grassroots bottom-up effort, and the campaign didn't start Students for Barack Obama, the students did, and then the campaign embraced it, plugged into all that energy that was happening, and really, you know, used it as an organizing tool. And Facebook users did vote. 5.4 million users clicked an I voted button on their Facebook pages in the 2008 election. That number went up to over 10 million in 2010, and we'll see it continue to increase exponentially as not only more people join social media, but just as important as more people joining, but more people spending more time on social media is also an incredibly important metric to follow. Barack Obama created his own social network called my.barackobama.com. Now, this was an incredibly successful tool for him. He was able, 2 million people created profiles within Barack Obama's social network. 200,000 offline events started by just regular people out there, you know, in communities across the United States. Just planned events and held events that they organized on myBarackObama.com. They wrote over 400,000 blog posts on this platform alone that they then distributed to their social network, or their offline social networks, their friends and family, so that they could be part of this campaign and own that campaign. And more than 35,000 volunteer groups, so small communities for Barack Obama, were founded across the nation. And this platform enabled people to create these groups. And so that said, you know, Barack Obama is a bit of an exception. And he is the only person in the history of American politics that's been able to have that kind of success building up their own social network. And that's based on a number of studies that suggest that people don't want to be part of more than one, you know, multiple social networks. People don't maintain 6, 7, 8 social networking profiles that they actively check and update and become part of, because that just takes too much time. Studies suggest that people choose 1 to 2 social networks to be part of and really invest their time and energy into those social networks. So what politicians are doing now, especially politicians that aren't the most inspiring politician of a generation that Barack Obama was doing, is that they're going into networks, into Facebook, into Twitter, and participating in those networks. And the most important thing when you think about participating in social networks is authenticity. Making it, you know, making it not seem like you're just distributing press releases or just saying, you know, on-message topics, but making people actually feel like they're getting to know the candidate and to know the politician as a real person. So it's really important that that authenticity be there, whatever you're doing online. So I want to delve a little bit more deeper into some of the tactics that were used in support of the Obama campaign. And I wanted to talk about my firm's role in helping to elect Barack Obama. We mobilized 1 million people for Barack Obama using the power of online advertising. And the concept was incredibly simple. we ran online ads across the United States giving away free bumper stickers, free Obama bumper stickers, free buttons, free Obama-Biden bumper stickers. We also experimented with giving away T-shirts for donations. Now, this concept may on the surface seem very simple, but it was actually incredibly complex, because our goal was to harness the energy of the Obama campaign and mobilize these people so that they would, tell us and show that they were interested in the campaign by asking for that sticker. But then those people that were recruited, that were, willing to put a sticker on their car, were then asked to become more involved in the campaign. They were asked to contribute money. They were asked to volunteer in their communities. They were asked to go up, to do more and more to help elect Barack Obama. So our goal, though, with this campaign was to get people to take that first step toward telling us that they were interested in Obama. But the keys to the success were the following: setting goals, setting targets, the timing, metrics, and monitoring. Because it may just seem simple to put up a bunch of online ads giving away stickers and that all of a sudden the people are going to come. But that's not true. The first thing that you need to do is you need to target the advertising effectively to people that are likely to be interested in Barack Obama. The second thing that you want to do is monitor those metrics on a daily basis, and to say, we're willing to make sure that the program is efficient, to say that we're willing to spend such and a certain amount of money for a new email address, for that new supporter that you sign up. And so our goal was to mobilize as many supporters as possible, but within a strict guidelines of how much we were willing to spend for that individual to sign up. So what that was able to do, what we were able to do on a daily basis, is monitor the advertising buy, change the advertising buy, so that we were maximizing the number of people that were coming into the campaign and supporting Barack Obama, but also making sure that the program was cost efficient for our clients. So that was what was the most important. And this was, our effort was not directly for the Obama campaign, but because of American campaign finance rules, there are a lot of affiliated large organizations that act in support of the campaign. And this organization, MoveOn.org, was the one that we worked with. That is the single largest progressive and left-of-center online advocacy organization in the United States. And that spike that you see, this is a 10-year chart of their membership. From 1998 when they were founded until 2008. And that spike that you see at the very end was the program that we ran with them. So we helped to really, energize Obama supporters, but, also bring them into this organization that was helping to elect Obama, but also to push a left-of-center progressive political agenda once Barack Obama was elected. So that said, as I mentioned before, the internet is not magic. You're not Barack Obama. It takes a lot of hard work, metrics, analyzing metrics at every step of the way, and making sure that what you're doing is effective. And the brilliant thing about the internet is that we can measure everything. If you send an email out, I can tell you what percentage of people are opening the email, what percentage of people are clicking on links in the email, what percentage of people that are taking action on the email. And the Obama team and all good internet teams are analyzing these metrics on a daily basis to try to encourage more and more people and to run campaigns that encourage more and more people to get involved. But it's not just email, it's text messaging. We can also see, the effectiveness of text messaging campaigns, who's getting the text message, where it's bouncing. And online advertising, I can tell you how many impressions, how many times somebody's seeing an ad. But I can also tell you how many people are clicking on the ad, what percentage of people are clicking on the ad, and what percentage of people that are then signing up or taking action after they click on that ad and becoming a supporter. And also on social media. There are social media monitoring tools that go out through all blogs and Twitter and aggregate all of this data and tell us exactly what kind of conversations are happening in real time out there. And all of this data is, brought into the campaign, and it's all very valuable. But then we have to think about this data in terms of how to use it and how to maximize and how to use that data to make our programs better and to make our campaigns better and to engage with more people. So I also was told that we want to talk about some strategies for parties. Because in the end, a party is a vehicle to help get candidates elected. Because the candidates are the face of the party. And so what have parties done, and what has the Democratic Party done in the United States to help both empower candidates, but also empower the party itself? And what parties have done in the United States is that they've built infrastructure. They've built tools and technologies that we've been able to give out to the parties. But before I talk about some of those infrastructure pieces that we've put into place in the United States, I do want to highlight the situation in Brazil. As of 2009, that was 2 years ago, 68 million internet users. Facebook, as of yesterday, there were 17.3 million users. But last year, there were only 8.9 million Facebook users. So you can see that Facebook is really taking off in Brazil. It's actually taking off at the expense of Orkut, whereas Orkut still has 36 million members. The Orkut is not growing and is in fact seen as a declining network. Twitter, Brazil has the second most number of Twitter members in the world are right here in Brazil. And it was 15.6 million as of, again, an estimate as of 2 years ago. I would say that number is probably over 20 million today. And finally, there are 187 million cell phones. And these cell phones, while most of them are prepaid cell phones, are being used by people to access the internet, to access social media, and to use chat programs and things like that. And so one of the things that we need to make sure that we're tapping is that cell phone penetration, which is nearly at 1 cell phone per individual in Brazil. And to really come up with text messaging strategies that bring in new numbers, where we can acquire new numbers of our supporters, but then also have a two-way conversation with our supporters using mobile. Because while it's important to use internet is still only reaching a percentage of the population. And where we should be, one of the places that we definitely need to focus our energy is cell phones, text messaging, and really taking advantage of that technology to reach a broad swath of the electorate. So as I said, the role of the party: provide infrastructure, educate candidates, encourage experimentation and testing, and not to be afraid to think outside the box. Remember, we talked about parties that succeed are parties that are constantly innovating and doing new things. And I think that that's incredibly important. Encourage courageous and clear positions, because courageous and clear positions are what really get people to rally around your cause. Because people are passionate not just about politicians and parties, but they're also incredibly passionate about causes and issues. And by taking clear positions on these issues, you can harness those issue communities online to mobilize those people to take action on behalf of your party and support your party. And finally, this is an incredibly important piece of advice. Please put the online campaigners, as what I say, at the big kids table. Because what often happens in online campaigns is that, oh, the internet people, we're going to put them over there in the corner. They don't need to be part of the strategic conversation. They're just going to go and play online and make their little website, and it's not an important part of the campaign. No, the entire campaign has to be integrated, because what you say on the political stump, what you say in your television, what you say on telephone calls should also be what you're saying and how you're communicating online. And how to integrate online into what you're doing offline is an incredibly powerful thing. And so that's why it's very important that the online campaigners on your teams be part of those strategic discussions, and always, talking about how they can integrate online with what you're doing offline, and don't just shove them in the corner. So I want to talk about one piece of infrastructure that the Democratic Party has put into place for state legislative campaigns. State legislative campaigns are there are 50 states in the United States. Each one of them has a legislature with a Senate and a House of Representatives. So there are literally tens of thousands of legislative candidates out there a year. So the Democratic Party devised a tool that they called Website in a Box. And the idea is that it's a win-win for both the party as well as for the candidates. What the candidates get from this Website in a Box tool is a very cheap website that's subsidized by the party, and they also get a whole tool of online technologies on the back end. They get blast email, database management, online contributions, blogs, forms, petitions, photo galleries, etc. They get a very, simple, it's a simple website, but it's a very, powerful website, especially for a candidate that's, very low level, a state legislative candidate. Now, these candidates aren't going to get, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of names that a presidential candidate will get, but they'll get, 200 names, 300 names. But when you're talking about 10,000 candidates across the country getting 200, 300, 400, 1,000 names, you're talking about a real large number in the aggregate. So the way DLCC Web works is that in exchange for the candidates getting a very cheap or free website and this database, the database tools, the Democratic Party, known here as the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, gets all of that data after the campaign. So the idea is you have tens of thousands of little satellite websites all around the web that are all collecting data. And then at the end, for all your candidates, and the candidates are using them to win. And at the end of the campaign, when that, if that candidate loses or wins, the party gets to keep that data and have access to that data too. So then they, are able to keep track of their supporters over time and build a national list of supporters out there that are supporting the party and have supported party candidates in the past. And this data is incredibly powerful. And in the first year of its operation in 2008, there were 500,000 new people signed up through this system. But since then, I don't have the exact numbers, but I know it's well over 1 million people that have have been added to the Democratic Party's database thanks to a system like this. The other tool that I very much encourage you to use is online advertising. Because what online advertising allows you to do is that, you can't just, nowadays when you launch a website, you need to not just launch a website, but drive people to that website and drive the right people to that website. So the first phase in any online advertising strategy that I always suggest is supporter acquisition. Our goal is to bring new people into the campaign and use online advertising to identify new supporters. So make sure that you're targeting with your online advertising people that are likely to support your party. Use messages for the people that you're targeting, micro-target those messages to make sure that you're, telling somebody if they are concerned about the environment, that you're going to, you're targeting environmental voters using a whole slew of techniques that are available to target environmental voters with an environmental message for them with an environmental message that encourages them to get involved in the campaign. And of course, testing is also incredibly important. So just to wrap up, it can also be used for persuasion. So if you have a specific message that your pollsters say, hey, this works with a certain audience, you can also use online advertising for that. Social media monitoring, we already touched on this. There's, millions and tens of millions of websites around the web. This technology allows you to synthesize that information and find out really what the electorate is thinking in real time, what they're talking about out there on the web, and then you can tailor your campaign strategies and your messages to those messages. And this data should be, this technology should be, the party should have it and make sure that that data is shared with the relevant stakeholders. Finally, you have to build a winning team, build a content department that writers, analytics, statistics team, viral video people, and photo people, and the website people. And there's a whole number of people that are involved under each of those teams for building your website. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, certainly let me know.